So, does this approach actually help people to reduce the static and their other visual disturbances of visual snow syndrome? Well, yes, it does. It really does. And I can say this because I've been on my own recovery journey. I was diagnosed with visual snow syndrome. I do so many videos talking about my experience of that. Please feel free to go and take a look. But in answer to the question, yes, it does. It really does. And I will explain why. But first of all, it's important to mention, reduction of symptoms cannot be your primary goal. And I know you're probably thinking, well, why? Of course I want to get rid of this. Let me explain. Okay, so just posted below is going to be the sensory motor OCD cycle. Now, in my opinion, visual snow syndrome is a presentation of sensory motor OCD. Okay, so what that is when we can become hyperfixated on an otherwise normal bodily sensation. So if you just take a look at this cycle, I'm just going to explain it really quickly. I go into it in a lot more detail in my other videos, but here we are. Okay, so if you take a look at this cycle, what will have happened at some point is you would have experienced an intrusive sensation of a visual disturbance, okay? That happens to many, many people. If we are stressed or anxious, we might get static vision, we might get trailing images, we might all of a sudden experience real light sensitivity. And that's okay, that's fine. But unfortunately for people with visual snow syndrome, it frightens them. And they then become fixated on it. They start to focus on it, they give it all of their attention, and they start to see it as a threat. Okay, something must be wrong. Maybe I'm going blind, maybe I'm going crazy. Okay, and then if we look at part 4, we start to do compulsions, trying to alleviate the anxiety. We might jump onto Google, we might end up stuck on Reddit for hours and hours a day. We might end up going to the doctors a million times, asking people to check if we're blind or not. And all of these are things that give us very temporary relief, but of course reinforce the real deep fear and the anxiety around OCD and around the visual disturbances. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's what's happening when you're struggling with visual snow syndrome. That's what's keeping it so alive, so intense, so raw. And the way that we recover from that is by undoing this cycle. Okay, so does this help you to stop seeing the static and floaters? Well, if you almost do this cycle in reverse, and if we look at undoing it, well, the way that we do that is we let go of our compulsions. Our brain stops seeing visual disturbances as a threat. We stop focusing on it. And if you look at the inverse of that, well, instead of the sensation being intensified and we're seeing so many visual disturbances that it feels like torturous, they reduce. And we start to feel more settled. The pixels, instead of being super, super big, become really small. We might notice them for 5 minutes a day instead of constantly throughout the day. And the better and better that you get at training your attention muscle, which is a big part of recovery, by the way, leaving it all alone, the better you get at not engaging with the disturbances and looking almost like through and past them whilst re-engaging with your life again as you used to, it absolutely settles down because you aren't giving it attention and you aren't looking for and scanning for the disturbances all the time. If you're looking for something, especially, with an anxious brain, you're going to believe that you're going to find it, okay? So yes, it absolutely helps you to reduce that. I can share my own story. When I first had my visual snow onset, the pixels were so big, I couldn't work out people's expressions on their faces. The nighttime blindness was, I was blind. Trailing images, but yes, floaters. Really intense. The lights were so bright, like I felt like I was being blinded. But I followed this model that I'm teaching you right now, which I do all of this for free, by the way. I don't gatekeep any of this. This isn't me being like, hey, come and join my crew. Like, I do all of this for free online. I post videos about this all the time because I believe so deeply that I want to help people with their recovery. So yes, in a nutshell, yes, it does help. And what I want to say, coming back to my original point, is, well, why can't this be the original aim? Why is it not okay for my goal to be to stop seeing these floaters and these things? Well, I will explain why. And it's not because I'm being harsh or being cruel or being tricky about it. There's a reason why when we work with people who experience a hyperfixation, there's a reason why we can't get rid of the symptoms as the main goal. The reason for this is because if you are trying to not think about something and not see something, well, what we resist persists. It's literally the law of psychology, okay? So if I say to you, don't think about a pink elephant, what are you going to think about? What's going to be at the forefront of your mind? the pink elephant, okay? So that's the reason why we don't say we're not going to think about, we're not going to notice the visual disturbances, because you want to bet that's all that's going to come up, okay? So there's a reason behind it. It's not because I'm trying to hide behind some sort of, ooh, you know, the real goal isn't to get rid of the disturbance. I'm not trying to hide behind that as if, you know, I'm not doing a proper job. There's literally a reason why it can't be the main goal, okay? But you just wait and see. Secretly, we know that it will settle down, but it can't be the main goal for that very reason, okay? Coming on to the second part of this person's question, I was told that I'm just imagining it all. Oh, that's so sad. Like, that's really so sad. And what I want to say about this is when I use the word anxiety and panic, that is not to say that it's all in your mind, that you're making it up, that you're imagining it. I know, because I've been there, okay? Anxiety doesn't mean pretend. Anxiety means fear, panic. That's the exact same thing that makes our heart race. We don't imagine that. It happens. It's the same thing that makes our throat swell up. It's the same thing that makes, oh, us get all hot and sweaty. We're not imagining that. It's real. And this is exactly what's happening to you, but just through your eyes when you are panicking, okay? So you're not imagining it. It's not unreal. It's not fake. You are experiencing this, but the power of the mind can enhance it. And that is the thing that we need to work on.